This isn't what she's talking about, but let's talk about the secondary and arguably more important sidewalk rule. I will often go for nighttime walks just because that's when my kids are asleep, and sometimes it's nice to clear my head. And on those nighttime walks, I often come across other women who are also walking by themselves, and there's several rules that I follow for myself to make sure they don't feel threatened. If we are walking toward one another, I'll simply cross the street if it's safe to do so, or at the very least kind of go into the bike lane off the sidewalk to give them as much space away from me as possible when we pass. If I turn a corner and somebody's right in front of me, I will either stop and pretend to tie my shoe or pull up my phone and walk miserably slow as I'm pretending to be engrossed in something on TikTok until they can get enough distance away from me where it doesn't feel like I'm following them. Now, there's no rule or law that says you have to do this, but I'm an imposing figure, and I've been told by the women in my life that they feel safer when they're out walking or jogging and they see men do this.
Howdy folks, this is Tony here, and this is my response to Speech Prof's Sidewalk Rule video. I just want to say that what he's saying in that video represents a highly toxic and dysfunctional way of thinking. And if you are a man, I would highly encourage you to not listen to him and to avoid everything that he said in that video pretty much, because there are three major things wrong with it. The first thing I want to say is that you don't lift up women by putting men down. That's not how it works. His video basically had this presupposition in it that men and women are natural enemies. If the woman comes down the sidewalk, she's going to find me threatening, and I need to do something about that. I need to put my masculinity away. I need to basically tuck myself down in a corner. I need to basically bend down and tie my shoe, which is you're basically bowing at that point. If you need to lower your posture whenever somebody walks into the room, that means that person has supremacy over you. That is a form of bowing or genuflecting to that person. And so that in and of itself is a form of sexism. Listen, if me simply walking down the street, minding my own business is not enough to be okay, then that means I'm being discriminated against. And that's not okay. Listen, all of you men out there, if a woman has a problem with you just walking down the street, that's not okay. If she says that you have to put yourself in a little box to make her feel comfortable, that is not okay. And whatever woman told him that, I would highly advise him to not be friends with her anymore, because she just has a problem with men. And we don't get rid of misogyny by replacing it with misandry. Misogyny is the hatred of women. Misandry is the hatred of men. Both are extremes that are wrong. We as men and women need to learn to love and respect one another and treat each other right. The second problem with what he said is that if this woman feels uncomfortable, if a woman feels uncomfortable with men out on the street, then she could make different choices. She could choose not to walk outside at night. Or why can't she cross the street? If I'm just minding my own business as a man walking down the street, why do I have to cross the street to avoid a woman feeling uncomfortable? If she doesn't like me, she has every single right that I do to take the other road or take the other side of the road if she wants to. This whole idea of the man has to kowtow, he has to bow down, that is, again, putting women over men, and that is a dysfunctional school of thought. And it kind of makes me wonder if people who think like Speech Prof or whatever he goes by, I kind of wonder if people like that had, maybe overbearing mothers who made them feel worthless as men when they were little boys. And so they grow up thinking that the only way they can function in society is to scrub as much of their masculinity off. It's just very dysfunctional, and it's not appropriate. It's not okay. And then the final point that I want to make is this whole entire situation could be avoided if more people exercised all of their rights and not just some of them. We live in the United States of America. We have a constitution which recognizes our rights as human beings, as well as recognizes our Second Amendment right. And so what I would tell all ladies, no matter if you want to walk outside during the day or night, get some training, get a gun, learn to use it well, so that if you are out at night, you don't have to be afraid of somebody trying to mug you or rob you or do something worse to you. Because if some creep out there tries to have his way with you, then okay, you deal with him in the appropriate fashion, call the sheriff, let him and his deputies deal with it, and then you walk on, you get to live to fight another day. That's the appropriate response. So to recap, number one is you don't lift up women. You don't lift up women by putting down men. Number two is men have just as much a right to be on the street as women do. And if the woman has a problem, she can change what she does. The man doesn't have to bow down. And number three, and this is very important, if men and women exercise their Second Amendment rights, then all of these criminals would feel very uncomfortable. So that's what I have for you today. You guys have a good day.